let's let go of throwing people into the fire. But as part of that, let's also let go of just dropping people in for a long shift as soon as they start with us. So my first recommendation for day one, really for the first 3 days, short shifts so that we can focus on learning the standards, learning the environment, getting to know the team, and introducing these new people without pressure. If someone comes in and, oh, I'm ready to work, I'm ready to do it, and you probably need somebody too. Let's be honest. You're probably hiring because there's a gap. But unless you want to fill the gap with somebody who's going to get burned out in 2 weeks, let's strategically put these folks in place, right? What's going on, Pizza Fam? Welcome back to another episode of the Pizza King podcast. I'm your host, Tyrell Reed, and every single week I'm just trying to give you tips, bring guests, share best practices, share my experience in order to help you, just run a better shop, build a better team, make a couple more dollars, make better pizza, whatever it is. I'm just trying to help pizzeria owners everywhere get a little bit better based on my experience. So that's why we are here today. So we just came off of the Florida Restaurant Show Pizza Tomorrow Summit. And if you hadn't heard the recap, you can go back to the last episode and catch the full recap. But I really wanted to kind of dig in a little bit on what I spoke on, and a conversation that I had with Bruce Irving from Smart Pizza Marketing, and that's really team building. When I sat down with Bruce, he said, look, because I'm glad that you're here because I get asked a ton of questions about team building, and he's more into marketing and and growing sales and doing things like that. But, social media, all those types of things where he's, hands down the class of the industry and a total expert on those topics. But he said, you understand team building and you understand leadership development. How can you really help people take it to the next level, get those managers into those leadership roles that really allows a business to thrive and scale and grow and, take some of that burden off of ownership. Because we all know, look, when we're in that role, when you own a pizzeria or you don't really own any type of business, it's your baby. You want to just give everything you can to it. You're going to spend all the time all the time you can there. You're going to, especially in a restaurant business, you're going to pour all your resources into it, all your time, all your energy. And oftentimes there's very little in return initially. But if you do it the right way and you build a nice team and you start to build your business out, it can be very, very, very rewarding. And for me, all of that starts with really building that family and building that team. And so I spoke on developing managers, how to turn those shift leaders into managers who actually lead, not just babysit or hold the keys and just show up. How do we turn those folks into people who, can identify problems and issues, solve problems, coach people through challenges, can hold people accountable, and can help us really see things that move the business forward. And having that person is such a game changer for your business. But before you can even get to that point, how do you even train a solid team? Like, how do you even you can't get a great manager from a team that isn't engaged. You're not going to pull, and I'm all about hiring from within and promoting the people that you have and really keeping things internal when it comes to development. But if the pool of folks that you're working from isn't ready to take it to that level, then you're not going to get there. So you got to start with building a solid team. And that's really where I want to start today. I think we gotten ahead of ourselves with the leadership development. But before we get to that point, we got to talk about how we build a core team, and how do we set those folks up for success, and how do we put those folks in position to later do more. And that's the key. Like, how do we set them up from day one? And that's what I want to talk about today. I can remember, back when I was, in the mix and I was hiring and training, doing interviews and looking for those folks. Sometimes you get that new hire that just surprises you, right? You get that new person that just comes in and they got all the tools. They really want to get it done, but then something happens and they fizzle out or they end up somewhere else, or You lose sight of them, you lose touch of where they are in the process. And that's what I really want to help folks avoid. Like, how do we identify our A players from the beginning and then nurture them to the point of leadership later on, right? So it starts with how you set the tone, how you onboard, how you train, and how you introduce them to your system. It is so critical to their future development. And if you don't have a solid onboarding plan, if you don't have a great, training program, or at least some kind of training program in place, you probably need to go back and start there. And we have all those tools available. Listen, for the rest of this year and 2026 and all that, I'm not selling tools no more. I've been selling, courses and books and, checklists and tools and all this stuff. Not anymore. I'm giving it away. It's all free. It's all there. So if you hear this, just go to my website, tyroreed.com, and I'll put a link on pizzakingpodcast.com too. But all the tools are free. I'm just giving, let's just give everybody access to it so that we can at least build our baseline up. So if you don't have an onboarding plan, if you don't have a solid, and I recommend a solid just 3-day training plan just to get somebody introduced to the business. If you don't have those things in place, go look at my templates. Go download whatever you want. It's all going to be there, and it's all free. Now, and I said for the rest of this shit, no, forever, that stuff is going to be free. So go check it out. And if you need any help with any of it, just reach out to me. Even if you can't figure out the website, just email me and I'll send you some stuff. People do it all the time. They email me and say, hey, I heard you talking about a checklist. I heard you talking about your break even tool. Whatever it is, just send me a message and I'll just send it to you. That's what I do. I just send it to you because we've already gone through it. We've already built it, or we've already done these things. So if you need it, reach out to me. We'll get it. Now moving on from that rant. Setting the tone and setting the expectations from day one is like one of your crucial tasks, right? You gotta, the way that you greet these folks matter. How you share your expectations. Remember what we talk about: mindset, routine, and communication. Communication cannot fail. How do you share and set the expectations from day one? You got to keep it clear. Share exactly what you expect from that position. Share exactly what it takes to get to the next level. Talk about what to expect over the course of however long your training period is. Like I said, I recommend 3 days. Your training period might be 7 days. It might be 14 days. It may be a month. Whatever it is, let's set the expectation straight from day one so that folks aren't coming into the dark. Let's let go of the days of just throwing people into the fire. Not a big fan of that, unless you actually want people to fail. And sure, somebody may come in and swim, or they may come in and walk through the fire and be just fine. And you'll say, oh, that's a great person. No, that's just a person with a little bit more experience, or they've been through it before. But that doesn't mean that they're built for leadership. And also, let's be honest with ourselves. We're no longer in a position where we can treat people as if they're expendable. We already know it costs a lot of money to replace folks, like $6,000 to actually replace an hourly team member. When we talk about recruiting, training, loss production, $6,000. So we can't treat people like that. So let's shift that. Let's try to set people up for success from day one, from moment one, from our first interaction, even through the, through the recruiting and interview process. Actually, it starts even there with setting expectations and what to expect and setting the tone. But once you hire somebody, let's be clear about what the expectations are from day one. Assign a trainer who understands and knows the standards and lives the standards. Here's a hack. Here's a little cheat code. And here's what I tell you: start with 3, a 3-day. And I just told you before, let's let go of throwing people into the fire. But as part of that, let's also let go of just dropping people in for a long shift as soon as they start with us. So my first recommendation for day one, really for the first 3 days, short shifts so that we can focus on learning the standards, learning the environment, getting to know the team, and introducing these new people without pressure. if someone comes in and, and I get it, people like, oh, I'm ready to work. I'm ready to do it. And you probably need somebody too. Let's be honest. You're probably hiring because there's a gap. But unless you want to fill the gap with somebody who's going to get burned out in 2 weeks, let's strategically put these folks in place, right? So here's what I'm saying. Short shifts for the first 3 shifts. No more than like 4 or 5 hours at most. Really, that first day should just be like onboarding, orientation, introductions. Maybe we, assign them their training program. We give them a tour of the restaurant, and then we talk about schedule for the rest of the week. But keep it short. Keep it short, keep it simple, and keep it encouraging and upbeat, because hands trust me, you drop them into the fire, more than likely they're going to get burned. So don't set people up for failure. Let's set them up for success. So once we get past, the first day, and we got them on board, we got the schedule worked out, then we can start moving into really the training of the position. So we give them a focus for the day. We set up our structure for feedback into that shift. Let's make sure we quickly and really positively get feedback, corrections, and all of that right at the end of that second shift, or that first real day on in doing things. Keep it short, but keep it positive. Remove any roadblocks that these folks may have so that they can continue to move forward and give them a chance to succeed. So we're talking about setting up our team members to join the team and to integrate themselves seamlessly into the team and into the operation. So we got first day orientation. Second day, we're going to start introducing, more functions of the role, but still keep it simple. Remember our rule. Let's no more than 4 or 5 hours. We're not throwing people into the fire. Let's give them one little thing. Like if you're hiring a pizza guy, let's throw him on, maybe he'll come in for a lunch shift. We get him in there. We'll let him work the oven, or we'll let him work the cut table, or we'll work on prep. Usually I like to start folks with prep. That's just me, but I like you to get to know the food first before we get into the line. But we start them wherever we're going to start them. Let's just give them small things, couple little tasks. Day 3 moves on to, all right, let's reinforce what we learned on the second day. Let's add a few more things in, but let's start to work on building that confidence. And that's going to come from our feedback, our communication. Remember, mindset, routine, communication. So routine, they're starting to understand, all right, this is how we do things. Keep it consistent. Maybe you gave them a lunch shift. Maybe it's time to let them see a mid shift or a dinner for a few hours, but try to work it around your people who are, the culture builders and the great trainers. If you have that, add a little bit more responsibility to the role. And then you're ready to talk about long-term what the schedule looks like. So we're talking about day 3. We're really working on building confidence. We're building reps. I encourage you to let them master one station at a time. One thing, even if you hire them for a bigger role, on baby steps, one section at a time, baby steps, so that we really build that confidence, and we reinforce them to take ownership of that role. So when they master it, they'll then after that time be able to train the next person on it. That's how proficient we want them to be at their station, that you know it so well that you can teach it, right? So that's as we start to build that confidence. Here's what's important. You have to track the progress, and you have to give feedback. So I recommend even just a simple sign off to say, hey, look, this is what we learned today. This is who taught me. We're both signing off on it. Now, if you have, a nice learning management software, and there's integration with a mobile platform or something like that, even better, because it's going to have those checkpoints built in there. But you want to have some sort of review so that we can ensure that they're actually picking it up. Doesn't mean we got to have a whole final exam every day, but you want to get that touch point in so that we can say, look, this is what we touched on. Did you get it? Yes or no? All right. That's important. And then from there, you can really start to refine their skills, introduce them to other stations, integrate them into the full schedule so they can actually take on a role. Once they're proficient after a couple of days, they can own that position, and you can actually schedule them without a trainer, and people can get back to their roles. And then we start, building beyond that and going to the next stage, or going to the next station. Here's what I want you to watch out for during that time. Is that person showing qualities for leadership? Is that person asking questions? Is that person accepting the feedback and making the adjustments? Is that person already engaged with the team? Is that person talking to customers? Like, you start to notice, if you're doing it the right way, you start to notice signs very early in folks that have the capacity to do more. And then when we put them on our list to say, hey, look, this person is a high potential. This person is someone that has management potential. This person has leadership qualities. And then we start to nurture those things. I am a big fan of identifying early so that we can build our bench later. I don't know if I've ever told it here on this podcast. I don't know if I've said it on other shows. Building managers is like growing asparagus. And I'm a big gardener. Like, I love my garden. I'm out here every day with my plants, right? But growing asparagus is one of my favorites. I understand the process, and I like to use it as an analogy for building managers for this very reason. Growing asparagus is hard, but when you do it right, it has long-term benefits. And developing a leader is hard, but when you do it right, there are long-term benefits for both you and the person. So the process for growing asparagus is harder on the front end, but requires little to no work on the back end. So if you're growing asparagus from a seed, literally for the first year, you put a seed in the ground, you water it every day, and nothing happens for a year. Maybe you get a little seedling, little sprout out of it. But you know what you're supposed to do when that happens? Cover it back up. It needs to stay underground and build its crown underground for a year. And you know what that means? Think about a person that you're training, or a person that you think could be, the guy one day or the girl one day that's leading this thing or takes your place. You really don't know what you have until you start to see them sprout and grow. You could spend a year watering that seed before it pops out of the ground. It could be a year and it never comes. It may take a year before you realize that you didn't even do it the right way. Or it could take a year and you start to see that sprout come up. But here's where the magic happens. So for the first year, you're just watering. You're just watering the seed. You're just watering. You're taking care of the soil. You're keeping the weeds out. You're protecting the seed for a year. And then after a year, you got a seedling. You got a little sprout coming up. And then you handle that sprout with so much care. You prune it. We're still watering and caring every day. We're keeping the weeds away. We're protecting it. We're keeping pests away. We're protecting this sprout for another year. You can't harvest it yet. So now we got 2 years in. First year, we didn't even know what we had. Year two, we got a seedling. We got a sprout that's coming up. We see some green. We see potential in the second year. And then by the third year, we have strong crown, strong stalks. We've pruned it and watered it and fertilized it for 2 years. And in year three, it's productive. It's beautiful. It's got the crown. It's got stalks. And you know what happens after that? Every single year after that, that thing is going to produce with little to no care for 20 years. An asparagus plant you can harvest asparagus for 20 years after that third year with very little to no care. You just go out there, reap your benefits, and it'll do what it's supposed to do because you gave it the foundation. It needs a strong root system. And growing a manager is the same thing. You need to give people, a strong foundation and a strong root system. And we need to give them the confidence and support to go out and be great and to go out and be productive, to sprout and go be all that they have the potential to be. That's our job. And sometimes that's not even for us. Here's the hard part. You may do all of that for a person, and then they realize that their potential is to do something else. But that's okay, because we're not doing it for us. We're doing it for them. That's what you got to remember. We're not doing it for us. There will be residual benefit for us as we develop folks, as we give people opportunities. There will be benefits, but we're not doing it for us. We're doing it so that they can see their potential. We're doing it so that they can reach their highest heights, so that they can live out their dreams. We're just part of the process. And that's when it hits the next level. But if you identify early, it allows you the opportunity to do it. And that's what we're talking about. But we set people up for success from the beginning. So like I was saying, Sorry to go off on on the garden tangent. That's just kind of where my passion is. But listen, identify the A players early, build that confidence in them. You know what I mean? Those first 3 days are crucial to welcoming folks into the team and to welcoming folks into the environment and setting them up for success. You can start working into the details. And listen, this is where you use your review time. Remember, I told you after every shift, just give it a little 5-minute conversation, a 10-minute recap. Talk about, how it went, what went well, what went wrong. This is where you start to break into some of those nuances, those expectations around the store, how we talk to each other, how we treat the guests, how we handle mistakes. This is where we get to have those conversations. You don't always have to wait until it comes up in action. You can set those expectations from the start, but use that one-on-one time to do it. So ask a lot of questions, listen out for questions that they're going to ask you, but then I mean, let's help get them there in a way that it's not like throwing them into the fire and they can stay. So my notes here says remind the owners that most new hires fail because no one owns their first week. You got to own it. So whether it's you that's going to handle their training or you have someone assigned to it, someone needs to be shoulder to shoulder with that new hire to ensure that they're set up for success. Listen, so if you need help, building out your training system or your onboarding system for new hires, just hit me up. Reach out to me, info@tyrellreed.com. You can go to my site, tyrellreed.com, and see all the tools that we have available. Everything is free. It's always gonna be free. If you see something and it's not free, just email me and I'll send it to you. But no, I'm gonna just make sure, because I did have a couple of things that were like $3, but we're just gonna make all of that stuff free. Thanks again. Want to say thank you to our supporters and our sponsors. Thrive POS is a huge supporter and sponsor of our show, our founding sponsor. If you need help with choosing a POS, or you're looking to make a switch from, on your point of sale system, I highly, highly recommend taking a look at Thrive. It has all of the tools built for pizzeria operators: driver app, delivery integrations, third-party integrations, loyalty, built-in loyalty, marketing, branded mobile app for online ordering. It's got all the things. It's what I've been using. I'm literally logged into Thrive all the time. I got the analytics app on my phone so I can see how the stores are doing in real time. It is most certainly part of my daily routine to use Thrive. So I definitely recommend giving them a look, giving them a shout. thrivepos.com/Pizza King. You can see the link in the description. Also, thank you to the team over at X Robotics and what they've built with the X Cube. That thing is really cool. That thing is really cool. This isn't, it's a robot that can make 100 pizzas an hour. And when we talk about being consistent with your operation, it's not taking the place of somebody on the line. It's actually helping the people on your line. To somebody that can sauce and cheese consistently day in and day out, ordering order after order after order. If you're short staffed, this is the kind of thing that you should probably take a look at. I'll drop a link for them in there too. So thank you to their team for supporting the show. And yeah, until next time, we will catch y'all. Go run some good stuff, run some good shops. We're live. Don't forget, we're live every single Tuesday at 2:00. And that's all we got. Pizza King Podcast. I'm out.